Hey guys, and welcome to the most important rogue guide for the season. Today we are gonna cover the Deathtrap rogue, which seems to be one of the most broken builds in the entire game, and for sure it's at least the most powerful rogue build this season. So yeah, it has a lot of power potential in the end game. We are talking here about multiple trillion of damage, trillion DPS in the end game. Also here in this starter variant already I have multiple billions of DPS. And yeah, it's overall very powerful build, and it usually has one big major downside or problem, which is the fact that it's very requirement heavy build. So in order to make this work and to deal damage with this build, you will need to have certain thresholds. So you will need 275 energy in order to overpower with every Deathtrap cast. You also need your Deathtrap cooldown to be maximum 15 seconds in order so you can just spam it 2 to 3 times per second. And also this build usually comes with with a lot unique requirements. So you need many uniques in this build and also many mythic uniques in the endgame variant. But in this video today, in this variant today, I gave my best to make the most casual friendly starter variant for this build, which is still capable of dealing billions of damage. So you can see here I'm just speed farming through this 69 pit. And yeah, I think I have quite accomplished my goal here. So we are in fact playing with 0 mythic uniques, mostly legendary items, and of course some core uniques that are mandatory for this build to make it function. But I'm convinced that this is the most casual friendly variant that you can have with this type of build. And yeah, just wanted to share it with you guys so you can start blasting as soon as possible. So after this gameplay footage here, I will cover all of the important mechanics and the strategies that we use in order to reach our energy and cooldown goals. And here you can also see the boss fight. So the crazy thing about this build is actually that we are very fast, so you can see how fast we can move through the map and still be able to deal this tons of damage. So I think this build is very crazy overall if you can make it to work. Unfortunately guys, I have technical issues right now, so I can't go into the game right now. So alternatively we have to just take a look at my Mobilitics page, and also I have saved some item footage or some item showcase here in this gameplay clip as well. But let's just start with the basics of this build. So this build is focused around Deathtrap, and we have some core uniques that make this build function. So first of all, we have Ice in the Dark, which just buffs your Deathtrap and makes it rearming itself once after activating, so you're basically doubling your Deathtrap cast with this item. Then we have Scoundrel's Leather, which makes our Deathtrap also count as a core skill, and this is very important because this opens up many possibilities and damage multipliers for Deathtrap, such as Banished Lord Talisman. So Banished Lord Talisman is a very powerful item for overpower builds, and here we can make our Deathtrap, which is now considered as a core skill because of our unique chestplate, to overpower with every cast. And for that we need 275 primary resource, which is energy in the case of Rogue, and for that reason we also want to reach at least 275 energy. So every cast of Deathtrap will overpower and deal massive damage, because overpower is very broken mechanic right now in the game. And in order to make that work, we also need a 4th unique item, which is Beastful Boots. And this one, just gives us more damage, but it also spends our entire energy, which makes this Banished Lord Talisman get to work. So after spending our resource, we can start overpowering with our next Deathtrap casts. And also it reduces our cooldown of Deathtrap, because after spending our resources we can reset our ultimate cooldown with preparation. So yeah, we have some quite complex mechanics in this build, and you don't need to understand everything. I'm just explaining so you get a rough idea if you're new to the rogue class especially, but all you need to know is that you have this 4 core unique items that are mandatory for this build, and you can only start playing this build once you have found one single each of these single unique items. But since we are in the season of boss powers, or like in the boss power season, we will fight bosses anyways quite a lot in the game. So like I mentioned, I believe you will need around 15 hours in order to transition to the build. You just start farming some bosses once you have reached T1, so you can just do it with a leveling build like Dance of Knives. I will also probably make a video about my Alchemist Dancer, Dance of Knives variant, which I used for leveling and the early Paragon leveling. And yeah, then you will find this unique items at the boss layers, and then you are good to go to transition. And so this build still has quite some heavy requirements for energy and Deathtrap cooldown, as I mentioned. So once you have found this 4 mythic uniques, the real work kind of starts here. So now we need to reach our 275 energy, and how we do this is by simply following this strategy that I have listed below. So you will need at least 1 greater affix on either your helmet. So you can see here I have a legendary helmet because we are not playing with a Shaco or with any other mythic unique in this starter variant. So here I have 1 greater affix on maximum resource, and I have also masterworked it 1 time. So the most simple way is, I would say, finding a legendary helmet with a greater affix on max resource. Or alternatively, you can also find your Beastful Boots with 1 greater affix. So maybe I should change this text later on. You will need 1 greater affix either on your helmet or on your Beastful Boots. And then you want to masterwork this maximum resource affix 1 time. So you can see my helmet is at masterwork level 8. And my Beastful Boots also, but my Beastful Boots, for example, I don't have a greater affix on them. So here I only have a regular maximum resource, but I also have 8 masterwork level. And this is important because if you do this, if you follow the strategy here, and if you then also consume your resource elixir, which is called Elixir of Resourcefulness, I think, and you also equip your Galvanized Slasher aspect on your ring slot. So here you can see I have this aspect, which gives me additional 24 maximum energy. Then you should be good to go, reaching this 275 energy. So just follow this this guide here on Mobalytics that I will link also in the description under the video. And then you should be good to go. But here I also want to mention one more thing. So in order to calculate this, I also use the simple energy calculator. And so again, keep in mind what we need for the overpower build is 275 maximum energy. But because we are playing with momentum, so momentum is the key passive on Rogue, which also gives you up to 30% increased energy shield. So because we're playing with momentum, we only need to reach 212 energy without the momentum buff. And here it heavily depends on your slasher aspect that only can be found on rings. So for that reason, I also can recommend you to start gambling rings at the curiosity vendor. So each time you farm some obols during your pit farming, you should only use them on rings, because then your odds are just higher that you will find this galvanized slasher aspect early on in the game. And here in the calculator, I can also change up some numbers. So for example, if I would have a very good aspect with, let's say, 30 maximum energy, then you can see my total energy increases, but also my minimum threshold increases, or actually decreases. So what I mean by that is, now that I have a higher aspect, I can actually lower my Beastful Boots energy, for example, and I can also lower my helmet maximum energy here, so maybe to 31. So you can see we just need 212 energy in order to reach this 275 of momentum buff. And so this is heavily dependent on your slasher aspect. But you don't need to use this calculator whatsoever. I just wanted to show you that it really depends on the numbers that you have on your aspects. And if you have a similar one like mine, so I have 24 energy, then this is how this looks like. So let's say you found one with 25, then you can see, okay, you're good to go. Then here you will even need only 29 energy on Beastful Boots. So TLDR, you need 1 masterwork on max resource on your Beastful Boots, 1 masterwork on max resource on your helmet. Then you will need 1 greater affix, most likely on your helmet, but it's also possible on Beastful Boots. It's just more rare to find a decent pair of greater affix Beastful Boots. And you will need your Resourceful, Elixir, and Galvanized Slasher aspect with something around 25 energy. So yeah, this is, I would say, the best strategy in order to reach this 275 energy setup. And also, if you don't reach it, it's not too bad as well, because then you will only overpower with every second cast, but this will still lead into massive damage. And you actually don't need to have the perfect 275 energy, but it's quite achievable quite early on in the game as well. And the second requirement for this build in order to make it function is you need Deathtrap cooldown to be at least or maximum 15 seconds. But this is quite easy to achieve. So here you can see I have Deathtrap cooldown reduction as a tempering on my ring. And because we are playing without any Mythic uniques, we have 2 ring slots available. So here you can see I even have a higher roll here. So I have both rings tempered with Deathtrap cooldown reduction. And I also have masterwork both of them 1 time. This is not too difficult to achieve in my opinion. And then because we're also playing with Uriva Bomb boss power, so here this is our main boss power, the Uriva bombs, we get additional 15% cooldown reduction. And if you really need it, you can also get cooldown reduction on your helmet, but in my case, for example, I didn't even need it. And with this setup alone, so 1 masterwork on Deathtrap cooldown reduction on your ring slots and Uriva bomb boss power, I already had, I think, something like 13 to 14 seconds on my Deathtrap cooldown. And this is just enough to spam your Deathtrap 2 to 3 times per second and deal this massive damage. So yeah, I agree guys, this is still not the easiest build and the thresholds are kinda rough, but with this setup here I could make it work, at least for me, and I believe you can make it as well. So you just need to follow this exact item setups here. I also have the masterworks in this planner, so you don't need to watch this video over and over again. Just take a look at this planner here after the video. Talking about runes, we are freezing enemies with the Thal rune. So because in this variant with Uriva bombs, we don't have any way to freeze because we can't use the Beastful Boots, the Beast Eyes or Eyes in the Beast boss power, which also can freeze. So in fact, 1 second, I can quickly show you another variant here. So in this variant, you can see we are playing with another boss power, which is the Beast in Ice boss power, which I was talking about right now. And this one also freezes your enemies around you. So if you have enough cooldown reduction and you don't need the Uriva bombs, then you also have the option to switch the main boss power to this one, because then you will freeze enemies with the Beast in Ice boss power. You will then also benefit from certain damage multipliers, because Rogue really likes to freeze the enemies in order to deal more damage. And then you have like 1 open rune slot, which you can just adjust to your taste. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. So in this variant here with Uriva bombs, you need the Tal rune. This is the only way how you can freeze enemies. And Xal rune gives you more maximum life, which is very important for scaling of your damage, because overpower builds scale with maximum life. But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to mention. Then also very important is the gameplay loop, or like the skill rotation. So maybe you already have mentioned it at the beginning of the video. So when you enter the pit, the first thing that you want to do is you want to use your blade shift skill. So here I'm on a PC, I'm holding down my shift key, and then I can use blade shift while standing still. And I'm doing this because I need to get my momentum stacks. So here you can see with blade shift I can very quickly get my momentum stacks to maximum. And this is very important because you want to have your maximum energy. and just start at the beginning of the pit with your maximum damage potential. Otherwise, you are kind of slow in the beginning, and also your Deathtrap cooldown is not working properly because of your less resources. So I really like to do that at the beginning of the pit, and then you just ignore the skill. It's just really for the beginning of your pit or dungeon entering. So yeah, then you constantly move with dash and shadow step while holding down your keys for concealment and Deathtrap. So this is what basically allows us to deal damage while we are moving. So of course, if we fight a lead pack or a boss, then we just stand still. But otherwise, I just hold down my concealment and Deathtrap keys all the time basically, and spam my shadow step and dash to move. And yeah, this is a very satisfying gameplay loop in my opinion. So this is something to keep in mind. Then once we are at the lead pack, boss pack, we stop moving and we still hold down key for concealment. This is also quite important. So we hold down the key for concealment, and then we spam our Deathtrap with the other button. So you can't unfortunately hold down both keys, because if you would hold down both concealment and shadow step, then the game will only cast shadow step and will completely ignore the concealment skill, because it has lower attack frame rates or whatever, I don't know exactly. So for that reason, we need to hold down concealment and cast Deathtrap separately, around 2 to 3 times per second. I would not spam it too often, because if you do that, you will skip some of your concealment casts, and concealment is very important in order to get the maximum amount of damage, because of our Paragon setup, and also concealment allows you to crit and always apply vulnerable damage. So yeah, I would not cast it too often, but around 2 to 3 times per second, just to make sure concealment is always active. And then if you wish, you can also like drink your health potion and cast your shadow imbuement once every 8 to 10 seconds, because this will also increase your damage by around 50%, so 1.5 damage multiplier. And yeah, also helps you with clear speed and more damage overall. Yeah, but I think that's actually all I wanted to share for this early variant of this build. Of course, I will probably update this in the end game once I progress and get more items. But I'm very certain that this build, actually not this one, but the one with the bombs, 1 second. Let me find the right gameplay again. So this one for the season. Oh, sorry. What's happening here? What's happening here? What's happening here? 1 second, 1 second. Okay, this one. So the setup here with the river bombs, I'm pretty sure that it's the best setup for starting with this rogue build. It's very powerful, very fun, and yeah, I hope I covered everything important here. As always, you can ask me anything in the comments. If you have some questions, I will try to answer them. And yeah, I hope I see you in the next one when I update this build further, or also share with you my Alchemist Dancer leveling method. And yeah, I hope I see you in the next one, guys. Until there, have a nice day and bye bye.